I'm Rob. I'm an addict.
No, Rob.
It's good to be here. Always a blessing to be asked to be anywhere. And, this is probably the subject that I fit best. I actually wanted to share on the first step because I love the first step. I think it's the essence of everything, the beginning of everything. And I was kind of told that, this is what I need to do. So I listened to the powers that be. And, when I really thought about it, it's kind of how I live, I'm going to share a couple things. Like when I got clean, having fun was not what was on my mind. In my initial, coming into recovery, I felt like the fun was over. I really felt like I had lost my best friend. And what I really was good at was being angry. I was mad at everything, myself, the police department, motor vehicles, federal government, any municipalities, all that stuff. These corny ass people in recovery, they were so happy, and I was just like, everything just made me angry. And the truth was, I didn't know how to live, without drugs. And when the drugs were taken away, even though they were the very thing that was killing me, I didn't know how to, be without being on drugs. It was a very uncomfortable state of being for me. And I think as addicts, we're all automatically somewhat uncomfortable in our own skin. And that was just another layer that was taken away. It was like my protection for everything. So it's a very awkward state to be. And I remember how I felt really, really well. I've been clean for a little while. But I just remember that so well today, that feeling so uncomfortable in my own skin and just not knowing how to be. I took myself so serious. I was, everything was like, I had to question everything. And one of the things I had to learn through the step process and the we process was how to stop taking myself so seriously. How can you have any kind of fun if everything's a problem and a burden and an inconvenience? So I can remember living where everything was a problem, and I remember getting to the solution. Like, wow, we have this whole thing going on here where there's this giant camaraderie of other addicts all getting together and wanting to improve their lives. And I had to put things where they belong, like remember where I came from, to get to where I was at and be able to see things in a hopeful state of mind, which is that's early recovery, man. We go from hopeless to a place of hope. And Mike, touched on that home group, getting there and realizing there was hope with that, and I experienced that in that same home group, other people that were trying to get their lives together. I had to stop taking myself so seriously. Then I had to find what helped me to do that was being around other people who didn't take themselves so seriously. And then I got to a point where I was trying to express and teach other people how to not take themselves so seriously. Because these are all the essence of the things we need to be able to do to be able to have fun with, which ultimately was what I was trying to do. Because the other thing I was, after being angry when I got clean, was I was bored as hell. And I'm looking at my boy Mark over here, who's, been in and out a little bit. And I remember when he came back not long ago, he's like, whoa, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do this. And I just remembered, myself being new, and I was like, what's wrong with you people? We got to do some shit. We need to be doing stuff, right now. And they just thought I was a maniac, and I was.
Yeah, you were.
And I still am. And I'll tell you, I remember Mike, years ago, saying something to me, which I'm not sure if it was said as a compliment, but he just said it. We've always been able to be honest with each other. And he said, you live like you got 6 months to live. Because I was always, running around doing this and let's do that and all that stuff. And I at first I took it as an insult because, that's how we, sometimes I do. And then I thought about it and I'm like, wow, that's a compliment. And then I thought to myself, that's exactly how I want to live. That's exactly how I want to live. Look, I spent most of my adult life, well, no, that's not true, because I've been clean for a little while now, but I spent, up to getting clean, my whole life, basically destroying myself and not having fun at all. And I lost a lot of time. Active addiction, man, you lose your life. You live the enjoyment of living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. I was not able to live and enjoy life with the use of drugs in it. It really, I made the best of it sometimes, but it wasn't fun. It was not fun. So, from that and having a mindset like, man, I need to make my life count. And I need to really take a look at, who I want to be and what I want to do. And this recovery process, man, some magical things happen. And I got to touch on the steps because I couldn't get to a place where I could honestly and sincerely be able to be happy with myself enough to be able to have fun until I worked some steps and started finding out who I was and what I was really about. And I had to get to the truth of a lot of things with myself. And that stuff, man, freed me up, man. And a big part of that was the love of the other people in this fellowship. And I know Bev's shaking her head because she mentioned it earlier today. The love of other addicts that I was feeling, even when I was a blazing maniac, that it just, man, I had no defense for that. When I got here, I was like, oh, the hell with you, and the hell with you. I would argue with you. I'm ready for a fight. You name it. And when people just loved me up for right where I was at, I had no defense for that stuff. It was undefendable. And that's where love was the most powerful thing, and I realized that. And that freed me up to be able to see who I was and be able to get to a point where I could find out what I want to do in my life. So I'm going to share you guys a few stories about some of my experiences with having fun in recovery. About 20-something years ago, there was this woman named Barbara Blaze, which, the older, contingent here know who that is. And I was at a meeting somewhere, and she said, I became one of her, me and Mike were we were her kids, or what did she call us?
Baby.
You were my baby. You're one of my babies now. And I'm like, oh. And she was a 6'2", roller derby type chick. And I'm like, all right. And she goes, you're going to Ripley, West Virginia. You're going to the convention. And I'm like, oh, okay. I really felt like I didn't have a choice. And I ended up in the back seat of this car with two people I didn't know. I'm in the middle, and it's a 10-hour ride up and back. And I went, and the convention was cool, but I was uncomfortable. And I got back, and I had some fun. And I said to myself, I am never going there again with that long-ass ride and all that stuff. And I've been going to that convention for 29 years. At least once a year, sometimes twice. It's twice a year, this convention. So it's insane. And some of the stuff that has happened just with that convention alone, the camaraderie of other people that we got to include into taking that trip. And there's a bunch of people in this room that have all been to, by God, Ripley, West Virginia, that probably never even thought about, I'm going to take a 10-hour drive and go to a convention out in the woods type of thing. And it's just been awesome. And what has happened is it's turned into what we do on the way to the convention being more important than the convention. And it's just the fun stuff that we were doing. So I'm going to tell you guys, those who have been whitewater rafting on this trip, I'm going to tell you how whitewater rafting came about. About 15 years ago, there was Action News was on, and there was a segment where people were protesting a place because of people dying and drowning in a river in Fayetteville, West Virginia. And I started, so because I saw, people were dying and there was a protest that got my attention, and they were protesting a white water rafting company because of how severe the white water was, and it was killing, people were dying every year on the river. And I'm like, oh, that must be good. And it's the perfect analogy of somebody got a bag and OD'd. It fits that to a T. It was exactly like that. And I immediately started Googling it and researching it, and I was there within 6 months, whitewater rafting. And have been doing it ever since. And listen, last year, there's a guy sitting in this room right back there who almost died whitewater rafting. I think he could have dodged that rock a little bit better, is how I look at it. But, it was what it was. But when we were pulling his ass back in that boat, I was like, oh shit. Like, this is real. So, we now, on the way to Ripley, we do the summer gully, which isn't as severe. And then in the fall, there's a whole nother whitewater rafting trip where it's all Category 5 stuff. And honestly, it's pretty safe, but you've got to be paying attention. We had a really bad guide on that trip, Pat, and you knew that. We should have gave that guy a beat, to be honest with you. So that's just one example of some of the stuff we do. I was at a funeral about 6 months ago, and there was a person there that I've known for a while, and she comes over to me, and she's got her son with her, who's like, 6 or 7 now. Elijah is her son's name. She brings her son over to me, and she goes, do you know Rob? And he's like, no. And she goes, this is why you're here. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm not the father. The father's Ricky Renza, a buddy of mine. And she goes, yeah, the reason you're here is because I met your dad playing volleyball because of Rob. And I was like, holy cow. And that's one of the things that we started doing is we play volleyball. We do a lot of stuff outside, of just the rooms. And it was really neat how she said that, because I never thought of it that way. It was just like, wow, that kid is here on this earth as a result of beach volleyball. It's just crazy. So, look, great things can happen, and sometimes, bad things can happen. Pat, you know what I'm saying? Bad things could happen, but I am here to live my life to the fullest, and I really need to make having fun a priority. And don't get it wrong. One of the things I did very early on was I learned how to go to work. And I learned how to work hard. And I learned how to develop a business and all that stuff that you have to do. So I had to do certain things. You can't just run out and have fun without taking care of, the basics. So I really had to learn to do all that stuff to be able to be in a position to do these other things. And here's the other thing, man. I, on my own accord, can be a giant asshole.
Yeah, that's right.
To play stuff with. I am one of the most competitive people. You might hear a lot of people say that. But for the people who know me, they're going to agree. And I am just built that way. I wish that I wasn't. That's not true. Fuck that. My first curse. I wish I wasn't as competitive, but I'm glad that I'm built that way. It actually has helped me in my life in other areas to be, try to be successful. But I look at my buddy Nick back there, and we played pool volleyball, right? We were talking about this earlier today. And he could go 7 straight games and not even come close to winning. And it doesn't bother him at all. And I don't even want to be on his team. At the same time, I look at that, and this is what's great about recovery. At the same time, I look at that and I go, wow, let's remember to have fun. Because I can take having fun too seriously. How about that? I can take that too seriously. Yes. Control. We got to do it this way. We got to come here. We got to get there early. I do all that. I play golf. And I play a lot of competitive stuff at my course, and I play in, all the events, and, I got a few trophies and all that type of stuff. And I'm serious about, I go when I practice, and when I'm walking out my door, like my face is like, "Rrr." And then my wife, who's not one of us, is absolutely awesome. And she always catches me. I don't even want to talk to her when I'm going out the door. I'm all business. You know what I'm saying? And she'll like, oh, no. And she'll come over and she'll hug me and she'll say, just remember to have fun. And I'm like, you're right. And that has helped me. That has helped me remember to have fun. So look, I didn't go through what I went through to get here, to come here and like just get by, in a lot of areas. And one of those areas is going to be and going to remain like, let me have as much fun as I can while I'm doing this thing. And let me tell you this, what's been really, really awesome for me. I have gotten to see life be breathed back into other addicts that have come with us, not me, with us on these journeys and get involved and get plugged in to this crazy stuff we do. And watching them experience it like, I don't know where he's at. Connor's not here. Connor would drive down and play volleyball with us, right? Now, terrible at volleyball. Terrible. He's hitting the ball, it's flying. We don't know where it's going to go. But the look on that kid's face and the joy, I didn't even care if he messed the game up.
That's a lot.
Just seeing that joy.
That's a lot.
He was on the other team, so it didn't bother me. Oh, there he is. But seeing the amount of fun that like somebody like that was having, relatively new in recovery, man, I got to tell you, it just filled my heart up. And all of us that were there playing like felt the same way. So being able to be a part of that, to experience joy, happiness, and fun from other people, that's where the real hit is. As much as I'm having fun for myself, watching like some really old dude barely make it up the hill to play disc golf, that can barely throw the frisbee and like muscle through anyway, Mike, and just make it. It just like, wow, like really, dude. And just keep on plugging. And Mike's actually younger than me, but I just mess with him like that. So seeing you other guys have joy and being able to watch you guys enjoy your life and your recovery has been the biggest blessing for me. And I can only hope that, look, there were people that started doing this Ripley trip when I was new that are no longer here. Barbara Blaze is no longer here. Kenny, another guy who loved Ripley. He was the one that started going down early, way back, like 20 years ago. But he didn't do the fun stuff. He just went and hung out. Makes no sense. So I'm just hoping that like the legacy of other people doing this stuff, and the bigger part of that legacy being grabbing other new people and involving them and getting them to go and do some of these excursions and trips. Like the other stuff that we do, we play pool volleyball all winter long, beach volleyball in the summer, disc golf like all the time. We got people that never even realized what a disc was that are coming out and going out in the woods and hiking around and throwing frisbees, like maniacs for hours at a time. It's just, getting together with other addicts and like doing stuff that might be outside our comfort zone and having a blast doing it, man. And I feel like that's the essence of like really living. Going to work, coming home, going to meeting, all good. But having some fun stuff to do in between, it just makes everything, more enjoyable. And it's just like the recovery thing, man. It's the other people coming in and getting involved and getting in with us that really make it fun, I was talking to a couple, like, potential West Virginia virgins just tonight. They're sitting over here about the West Virginia trip. And you guys don't know, but that's what gets us going. Like, oh, we got a couple, get them out there in the raft and like all that stuff. You know, it's just it's like passing recovery on, man, and having fun while staying clean is just what else am I here for? You know, I'm living a life beyond my wildest dreams, and you know, thank God that there was other people here before me, you know, to set that stuff up. So I don't know. I think I might have time left, but I feel like I'm just kind of done, and I'm just grateful to be here. That's all I have.